loves. My name is Hannah and welcome to a new reading vlog where I'm just going to take you along for a random week of my reading. No plans, no TBR specifically, I'm just going to take you along and we'll see what I read in a week. So this is just a very quick intro to say hi and to let you know what I'm currently reading and some of the books that I'm likely to talk about, and then we'll get into a week. It's currently Monday. Last time I started this on a weekend, but I decided to start on a Monday today. I'm not at work, so I figured, fuck it, we can do a Monday. So, books that I'm currently reading. From last time, I am still reading On Looking by Alexandra Horowitz, which is a non-fiction book about sort of almost like how we can be more aware of the world as we move through it. And I am enjoying it, but I'm taking it very, very slowly, though I suspect I will finish that this week because I did that thing with like an ebook where I thought I had like 90 pages to go, but because there's a lot of like science and a lot of stuff in the book, there's fucking loads of sources, so I'm actually only about 20 pages from the end, so we're definitely going to finish that, and I'll check in with you about that properly when I finish it. I'm also like 2/3 of the way through Word Monkey by Christopher Fowler. This is a sort of writing non-fiction book plus memoir. Christopher Fowler really sadly passed away in early 2023, and this book came out this year. His husband sort of helped publish it. Christopher Fowler is a very prolific writer who I've never read before, but wrote a lot of kind of like popular fiction books, wrote seemingly across quite a wide number of genres, and this book is the book about writing he always planned to write. And he was saying that he wanted to write this book. He's been meaning to write it, and every single time he's sat down to write it, something in his life has happened that has derailed it. And this time it was COVID and really sadly a terminal cancer diagnosis. So there is a lot in that book about, you know, dealing with the realities of his terminal illness. It's always a really sad thing, isn't it, to read a book, particularly if it is dealing with illness and terminal illness, and then knowing that author has since passed away. But I am enjoying it despite that. He's a very funny writer. So that is what I'm listening to on audio, and then I have 2 physical books on the go. The first I'm going to show you, but I'm probably not going to talk in too much detail. This is Neon Roses by Dawson. This is one of my impatient picks for August, so we'll be featuring possibly in a vlog after this one goes on my channel, because I think just with how my reading's gone this month, that's the order that things are going to be going up in on my channel. But this is, if you know the film Pride, about lesbians and gays support the miners, and how that group went and supported the mining strikes in Wales. That's basically this book, but this is from the perspective of the Welsh miners. So I'm only a little way into it, about 50 pages into a just under 300 page book, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not loving the writing, but I'm enjoying the story, so that's where we are with that. And then one that I'm loving absolutely everything about is There by Tommy Orange. So we will talk about this in detail in this video. I'm sure I'm about halfway through. I will definitely finish this week. This is a book that's been on my radar for so long, but I've been prompted to pick this up. Sorry, this is a library edition, so you're getting tons of glare there on the jacket. Sorry about that. I'll put it down. This is particularly high on my radar at the minute because I'm always interested in the Booker long list. Last year I read the entire Booker Prize long list and I vlogged my reading of that. I'm not doing that this year in terms of specifically setting out to vlog reading the entire long list, but I am interested in at least trying the books that are on the long list this year. And Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange, which is a follow-up to There There, is on the long list. So I needed to read this before I could read Wandering Stars. From what people have said, you can read Wandering Stars without having read There There, but I think people strongly recommend that you do read this. So that is what I'm doing, and I am absolutely loving this book so far. So that is what we've got going on. I am on annual leave, but I am popping to the library, and there's a few like little bits and pieces that I want to get done while I'm there. So I'm going to have a little bit of quiet time working in the library for a few hours this morning. I also need to pick up I need to pick up another booker list. Enlightenment by Sarah Perry has come in, so I'll be going to get that, and then we'll just see what happens, eh? Catch you later. This is not doing it justice. And yes, there is a lid. We're on our nighttime walk. Library was good. I have continued reading mostly There There. Then this evening we got a really delicious pizza. If you're in Newcastle, it's the Scream for Pizza, the vegan truffle shuffle. And now we're watching some Australian true crime, which is really not our usual speed, but I'll tell you about that tomorrow, because I think my dog's doing a shit. Ahoy there, welcome to Tuesday. Not a huge amount of reading is going to happen today. It is currently 5 to 11. I'm not at work, which is why I'm hanging around in my kitchen at 11 in the morning. And we have the thrill of a mortgage appointment at noon today. And then I'm going to my friend Helen's house, and she's going to be teaching me how to fix my clothes. So I'll probably get some B-roll of that. I mean, I can like sew on a button, and I can do some basic embroidery, like for visible mending, but when it comes to like actual like construction, fix this seam, I don't know what I'm doing, which is really embarrassing because my family are tailors. So we're going to be doing that. And then I need to come back here, do some meal prep for the week, and then Farmer is coming over, and we are finally watching the last 2 episodes of Ripley so that I can finish that video. So that will probably, that will be up on my channel, hopefully. Barring any disasters. That will have been last week's video, so you will be able to go and see our book to screen thing of that. And so between all of that, there's probably not going to be tons and tons of reading happening. I will have a reasonably long metro journey. I think I'm going to read Neon Roses on that though, because I want to get a little bit more of a chunk into that. I really enjoy doing my impatient reading vlogs, right? But I've noticed a pattern that emerges, which is like at the midpoint of the month, which is now, it's like the 13th today. I've only read 1 of the 4 books. This happens every month where I'm like, oh shit, I've got to read those books. None of them are very long, and I'm sure it will be fine. And, you know, if one of them leaks into September, that's fine. But yeah, so I'm going to prioritise a bit of Neon Roses, and also I'm a bit avoiding There, because I can see where it's going, and I don't want it to go where it's going. So I'm anxiously avoiding it. I will get to it. I will get to it. I'm also off work tomorrow, and I don't really have like plans for tomorrow, so I'm thinking tomorrow's going to be a lot more of a reading day and a bit of an editing day. But yeah, this was just a quick hello and hi to set you up for possibly some random bits of B-roll that you might be seeing now, and I think I'll probably talk to you about book stuff tomorrow. Lads, oh my god. So, I went to my mortgage appointment and we got done early, and I was then going to my friend's house, Helen, so I can sew now, by the way. I can use a sewing machine. Are you thrilled for me? But most importantly, there's a St Oswald's Hospice bookshop on Gosforth High Street, and I have cleaned up. Now, I used to toxically purchase charity shop books. Is this potentially a sign that those times are returning? This is my second big charity bookshop haul in a little while, but here's the thing. I don't regret it. Do you want to know what I got? All of these books. In fact, I'll tell you how much the lot cost me at the end. So first off the bat, look at this vintage edition of Daphne du Maurier, My Cousin Rachel, which I haven't read. It's like, oh my god, it smells amazing. And it's got this, oh, look at it. Is that not the most beautiful thing you've seen? I love it. It looks, So this, most of the books I bought are not like fancy cool editions, but that was in the vintage section rather than in the general section. We then have The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, because I'm currently reading There, as you know, and it has reminded me that I have not read, it's got a Daunt Books, what's this called? Bookmark in it. It's reminded me that I have not read enough by Indigenous American authors. And I've read Tracks by Louise Erdrich before, but I read it as part of my degree, so a long time ago. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. Then what next? Okay, so we watched last week The Hours, the adaptation of the Hours by Michael Cunningham, and The Hours is one of my favourite books of all time. I absolutely love it. And I think it is a perfect film adaptation. Partly because the book itself is so cinematic, I think, and it's such a tight story that it's kind of hard to fuck up. But I saw Flesh and Blood by Michael Cunningham. Now, I've never read anything else by him except The Hours, and I am expecting that I'm not going to like anything he writes as much as The Hours, but I thought, I saw this and went, yeah, alright, I'll give it a go. I haven't actually checked that it is even the same Michael Cunningham. I'm just assuming that it is. Mortgage advisor just called me, so rude. What was I saying? The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. I don't know too much about this, but I know it is like a kind of cozy, heartwarming vibe, and I feel like it's a good idea to have stuff like that on your shelf to reach for when you need to. So we got that, a very big boy. We've got Darkmans by Nicola Barker, which is an absolute beast, and unfortunately I hate the font, but I've had this on my radar and TBR for a while. I think the ebook is available on Everand, but for some reason I'm a bit reluctant to read real long books on an ebook. I don't know why, but I am. So we have that to be tackled at some point. We also have Tin Man by Sarah Winman, which is the second Sarah Winman book I've purchased this month from a charity shop, despite never having read Sarah Winman before. But I have heard that everyone I know in my actual life who has read Still Life has said how much they think I will love Still Life. So what I've been doing, because of who I am as a person, is buying every book by Sarah Winman except Still Life. I don't know why I'm like this, but here we are. Tin Man. Oh, my partner also got some books in this haul, but because I can't remember how much his were and how much mine were, I'm including it all so that you can be amazed by the total amount. So he's a playwright. This is a play. Long Day's Journey into Night by Eugene O'Neill. This is another one of his. This is Noises Off by Michael Frayn, which is a classic, like, farce, I think. In fact, yes, it says the classic farce on the front. What else? This was his last one, I think. This is Then What Happened, which is a classic writing book by Mike Alfreds. So those were his 3 purchases. Less fun than mine. We then have The Wren by Anne Enright, which was just... Was it shortlisted for the women's, or was it only longlisted? Either way, I was interested in it after hearing people talk about it, and so yeah, we've got that. We then have Missing a Dust Jacket, but who cares? A copy of Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I have not read yet. I really love the 2 books by Kazuo Ishiguro that everyone loves, The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go. I've been mostly ambivalent on The Pale View of Hills, and I didn't particularly love The Buried Giant, but I've heard that this one is a little bit more Never Let Me Go-ish. So that. And then the final absolute steal, the 3rd instalment, The Mirror and the Light. I've only read Wolf Hall, but I have Bring Up Your Bodies downstairs. Annoyingly, Bring Up Your Bodies I've got in paperback, and Wolf Hall and this one now in hardback. But I'm not really an aesthetic booky person, so it doesn't bother me. But such a fucking chunk. Such a chunk. And all of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books, including this, the most beautiful, perfect thing I've ever seen, £27. £27. I mean, thanks, St. Oswald's. Me and Luna just having a little whoop, where are you? A little morning blackberry snack on our walk. Farmer did come over last night. Ah, fuck. They're a bit over. Juicy. Farmer did come over yesterday. And we did watch Ripley. But we didn't have the energy to film after finishing watching it, which is totally fine. But it doesn't leave me with a hole in my upload schedule, because we won't have a chance to film it until the night that it would normally be uploaded. No, that's fine. That's not my job. That's alright. But the algorithm does punish you when you're not regular. So I've been umming and ahhing for a while about doing a video where I'm trying to get on top of my digital TBR, because I'm actually like, I don't find my physical TBR overwhelming. I don't even particularly find like holding the books in my head that I want to read, like from the library, overwhelming. But having a subscription to a platform like Everand, where it's unlimited ebooks and audiobooks,
not sponsored, just a user. And I definitely have a tendency to save any title on there that I think I could potentially, possibly, maybe be interested in reading at some point in the future. And what that means is there's like 400 books, over 400 books currently on my Everand list. And I do the same on BorrowBox, actually, like my reading list on BorrowBox for both of the libraries that I have BorrowBox accounts with, that I alternate between. I have not that long, but long lists for them as well. And I do find myself with a fair amount of decision paralysis every time I want to watch, anytime I want to listen to a new audiobook or pick an ebook, because I almost always have an ebook on the go. I quite like being able to read on my phone just when I'm out and about, if I find myself in a queue or there's a metro delay or something. Like, I don't always have a bag with me, so I don't always have a book. I'm not one of those gals. Wish I was. I'm just not organised enough. More blackberries, one sec. And yeah, I just find I can't always... I find the list of books that I've got on that overwhelming. So it's been on my radar for quite a while to do like a bit of a health check on what is actually on that list and come up with a bit of a plan of attack for how I'm gonna deal with that going forward. I love blackberries. So I think my other half is at work today and I have the day to myself with no plans. It was going to be I'm going to read all day. Instead, I think it's going to be, I'm going to figure out what to do about this digital TBR. So I don't know what format that video is going to take, but it will probably be up on my channel in some form by the time you do it. I also finished a book. I finished the audiobook of Word Monkey by Christopher Fowler, and I might as well talk to you about that now too. Let me swap arms, because oh my god, is it tiring holding a phone up in front of your face? Hey. Yeah, I enjoyed this. Hey, I mean, there's not really a way to like critique someone's work that they produced when they were, you know, suffering from a terminal illness and ultimately died before the publication of the book. It feels a bit like to critique it. I will say that I know the circumstances explain why this probably wasn't done. So I'm like walking into the sun, so that's why I'm looking like I've just like ingested a bag of lemons. Right, what was I saying? Oh my god, the sun is so distracting. Christopher Fowler. Yeah, I understand the circumstances and why they didn't do this, but I really think it needed an edit. And I thought it was too long, but these were a dying man's words, and I understand why you wouldn't limit those, because they're the last words that he's going to write. So I feel callous for even having had that thought. But it was a real smorgasbord. It's interesting that it was nominated for the Polari. I can see why. Mentions to the AIDS epidemic. That probably constituted maybe like 5% of the book. And there was some queer content in it, but not a lot. I certainly wouldn't... It is technically a queer memoir, of course it is, because it's a memoir of a queer person, but I think that's not the foreground. It is a book about writing, and it is a book about dying. Bless me. And but he's a funny writer, And I did enjoy it, and I thought the narrator did a brilliant job, as I think I mentioned before. I don't think his fiction will be for me, despite really enjoying what he was talking about writing. I think I can tell that he's probably not a fiction writer for me, but I'm glad I've read it. And yeah, I don't have a huge amount to say about it. I mean, it's very sad. It was very moving at the end. I mean, obviously, treat it with care if you have personal experience with those sorts of things, because it is obviously a difficult read for reasons like that. But yeah, welcome to a field. So we did that, and I'm about 6 pages off finishing On Looking, so I'll probably check in with you about that and there. Maybe later. We'll see if I've lost my mind doing this digital TBR stuff. Back in the fields. I have catalogued all of the books now. Put all of the books on my digital TBR on a spreadsheet. It has taken all day. It's currently like 3 p.m. But I needed to catch up on some YouTube videos, so that's fine. And I've basically got it to a point where I've been able to, like, roughly, I at least know what's on the lists, and like rough splits of how much of that TBR is a genuine actual TBR of books that I know I would like to read or at least give a go, and how much of it is just like books I've heard of that I need to figure out if I want to read or not. So that's good. And Lewin and I are on a walk now. We're just waiting for his pal Zach to come and meet us, and then we're going to go see our friend who has just had a baby. Well, I say just had a baby. She had a baby a month ago, but this will be the first time we're seeing her. And then we'll be I'll be back on my bullshit this evening. Hopefully I will still have a chance to do some reading. We'll see. Oh, here's Zach. Finished that there. That book is incredibly stressful. We'll talk later because I'm in the middle of making dinner. But that book is stressful. Okay, I don't even know why I'm bothering, because you're definitely not. This footage is terrible. But just in case you were wondering, that's my favourite kind of moon. It's a waxing gibbous. It's a beautiful, low, bright waxing gibbous. And I like looking at the moon every night, but in summer, because of how low the moon is and the fact that I live in a residential area, I very rarely get to see the moon in the summer on my nighttime walks. So yay, there she is. I've just finished work and I'm on Lewin's walk. And I had a good day today. I was like, do you ever have like a day at work where like you're your own hero? I was so productive. I got so much shit done. I think sometimes, like, because I've been taking loads of annual leave over the summer, so I've not been working many full weeks, and I find sometimes that the neurospicy superpowers really kick in. Like, I got about 2.5 days work done in one work day today. Well done me. Anyway, I'm supposed to be talking to you about books, aren't I? Well, I finished reading There by Tommy Orange. So this is a book, I can't remember what I've spoken to you about this, but it's a sort of multi-perspective narrative following a number of different modern Native American characters in and around Oakland in California, which is where the author is from. And it's very... I don't really know what to say about it. I thought it was brilliant, particularly in the first half of the book. It dropped off a little for me at the end, but I'll talk about why, because dropped off isn't necessarily the right way of phrasing it. But I really enjoyed it, and the writing was beautiful, and the characters were really... I felt like I really got a good grasp of the characters early on. And then, so all of the characters are somehow involved in this powwow that is going to be happening in Oakland. It's a big deal in the Native community, and you've got characters there from different generations, some of whom are very embedded in Native American culture, some of whom are sort of like have that heritage but aren't really sort of engaged in like living and breathing that culture, do you know what I mean? And it just had so much to say. It really was sort of trying to get under the skin of like the legacy of the appalling treatment of the Native American people by like white colonial powers. And there was this great bit early on it was talking about suicide prevention. One of the characters works in sort of like suicide prevention, because sadly the suicide rate is incredibly high in this community. And the book talks about how often when we're trying to deal with social issues like that we treat the symptom and we don't treat the disease. And Tommy Orange has clearly kind of spent a lot of time thinking all of it through, and the characters all kind of engage in that conversation, I guess, on different levels. And I was really enjoying it, and I did really enjoy it. I'm going to do that thing where I end up sounding like more negative than I mean, but I lost the plot at about 2/3, because what happens is you've got all these different multi-perspectives, and I am not always good with a multi-perspective because of this reason, because I struggle to hold the characters in my head. And it's building towards this crescendo, and so these perspectives become shorter and shorter and shorter until like right at the end of the book they're like barely a page long, so you're moving between characters' perspectives really quickly, and it's very layered and textured, and it's incredibly effective. But at some point in the transition, in the middle, I lost some of the characters' motivation. Like, I don't know if I was reading a little too quickly, or if I missed something that I should have picked up on, or if actually you never fully do know what these characters' motivations are, because there is a huge amount of ambiguity in the book, and the ending is very ambiguous. And so it could be that Tommy Orange didn't give you those kind of didn't give you that understanding of the motives, but those motives are really quite crucial and the actions that some of the characters take are incredibly critical to what happens in the plot, and I felt like I didn't understand them, and I didn't know if that was me missing something, or if the point is that you don't understand, but unfortunately, because of that misunderstanding, and I couldn't find a point in the book where I could go back and like pick up the thread of it. So because of that, I ended up, it really lessened my enjoyment of the latter part of the book because of me being in the back of my mind being like, have I missed something? Am I supposed to be, what's going on? But I think he's an absolutely beautiful writer. I've just picked up Wandering Stars from the library this week. So I think I'm going to read something else in between. But I'm really looking forward to getting to Wandering Stars. I think, like I say, I think he's a beautiful writer. And I really enjoyed hearing from the perspectives of these characters. It's not something that I've read about a lot. And so, let me just get some blackberries for Lewin. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I didn't love it as much as I thought early doors I might love it. If you've read this book, could you, in a unspoilery way, in a comment down below, just let me know if you understood why Calvin and Carlos and Octavio were actually doing what they were doing. And I found those three characters actually got a little muddled in my head. I think that might be part of the problem, is that I lost the thread of who they were. But I mean, beautifully written and so stressful towards the end. It is a real like blockbuster of an ending, and very powerful. So I'm curious to see like how Wandering Stars fits in with that. I think, is it a prequel? We'll see. We will see. So I read that. Let me get out of this particular bit of the field and then we'll talk about what else I read. Welcome to another view of the field. Lewin is just eating some grass. The other book I finished was On Looking by Alexandra Horowitz. So if you've seen the last one of these videos that I did, you will remember that I started reading that in that video, and I finally finished it. So it took me about a month to read it. But that's not because I wasn't enjoying it, it's because it became a really nice little bedtime book for me, because it was an ebook, so I was reading it mostly on my phone. And yeah, so the premise of this was that Alexandra Horowitz goes on a series of walks around the block with people with very different perspectives. In fact, not always people, but beings with very different ways of experiencing the world, but also people who have particular like specialisms or knowledge, and she tries to learn from how they view the world, how they experience the world, in the hope that it will sort of help her see that everyday magic of the world. And I really enjoyed it. I did find each chapter is a different walk with a different person, and obviously depending on your own personal interests, some of those chapters are just inevitably going to be of more interest than others. But I picked up some good little facts. She's a very engaging writer. I did find sometimes I wished, ironically, for a book that's all about being in the moment and being present and seeing what's there in front of you. She's clearly someone who values a lot of research, so what would happen is she'd begin this walk with someone and you'd be on the walk, and then partway through she's obviously gone away and done a lot of extra research into various things that are being discussed. And I found myself, while that stuff was interesting, I was like, I want to get back on the walk. I thought the point was that we were doing this walk. So yeah, there was a little bit of, it wasn't filler, it was all like interesting stuff. But yeah, I found, no, you can't go in there, that's where the deer live. Good boy. Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I recommend it if you're looking for just like a nice, gentle, general non-fiction. One of the walks she goes on is with her dog, because she has also written a non-fiction book. She is an animal behaviourist, among other things, or at least she lectures on that at a university in New York. So yeah, it was interesting. As a dog owner, the dog chapter was was interesting to me. But there was all sorts of like other stuff around like herd mentalities and stuff, and what that means for our behavior in like crowded streets, because the streets that she's mostly walking on in the book is New York, because that's where she lives. So you've got a lot of pedestrians moving around, and there was some interesting stuff in there about like how we move as a group, as a unit, and how that relates to how other animals move in a unit, and what it means for the way our city spaces are designed. That was interesting. Yeah, I think because I am a forgetful little one, I don't know how much of it's going to stay in my head, but it stopped me doom scrolling in the small hours, so that was nice. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So I think this leaves me with because I finished Word Monkey, I have also started an audiobook that I was really excited about, and I'm loving it so much. So I am reading True Grit by Charles Portis, and the audiobook of that is read by Donna Tartt, and it's brilliant. I've never read True Grit before. I've never read any Charles Portis before, actually, and I haven't even seen the film True Grit, actually. But yeah, it's a Western about this young girl who is she's 14, and she's attempting to avenge her father's death, and it's brilliant. Donna Tartt does like such a good job with the audio, and yeah, this was one that came on my radar because of the Books Unbound podcast, because Ariel listened to it and it was one of her favourite books of whatever year she read it in. I don't think it was this year, maybe last year. But yeah, really, really enjoying that. And I think this evening I will start possibly Headshot by Rita Bullwinkel, which is on the booker list, but I'm reading that for my impatient reading blog, the same as Neon Ghosts. Neon Ghosts every time, Neon Roses. So I will either start that, or I will start Enlightenment by Sarah Perry. Either way, it's going to be a book next, because that's sort of where my reading is at the minute. And yeah, well, I think I'm due to wrap this video up on Sunday, so we've got a couple of days, and I don't have many weekend plans, so I'm hoping that I'll get a fair bit of extra reading in. I feel like this has been quite light on the reading in this video, but yeah, catch you later. After Lewin's walk, the poor boy has to go to the vet to get his claws cut, which he has never had done before, because normally his claws just wear down on the pavement, but for some reason or another they haven't done that this time, and he's limping. They've got a bit too long on the front, but he's going to hate every second of it, and he's going to make sure that everyone else hates every second of it too. So wish me luck. This is my new favourite thing to make on a weekend, when I know I'm, like, my partner's on the morning dog walk. I'm gonna go downstairs, make a little coffee, get back into bed and read. It's one of those drinks. Because normally, I'll tell you what it is in a second, but unfortunately for you, you're going to get the history of why I'm drinking this drink and not what I normally have in the morning, which is a large glass of sparkling water and a hot black coffee. And the reason is very simple. That used to be my side of the bed, and now moved over to this side of the bed. Reason being, the dog sleeps down there, and he wakes, whoever sleeps on this side, he wakes you up. Not so much anymore, but he wakes you up at around 5-ish, because he wants to get on the bed. And I am a gifted sleeper, in that
I can be woken up and immediately go back to sleep. Whereas when my partner gets woken up, he is then awake. So I very selflessly offered to take this side of the bed because it doesn't bother me. But that means, we're getting to the point, that means I don't have a bedside table. So I don't have anywhere to put my preferred stash of 2 drinks, 1 hot, 1 cold. So on a Saturday, I have combined my pint of water and my coffee into a pint of cold coffee. And it's excellent. And it's so easy, and it looks fancy. It's still settling, so like this is not all foam. But it is literally, if you've got like a blender like a NutriBullet or a smoothie maker or like whatever, it's water, tap water, cold tap water. Like however much instant coffee you would normally make in like a large mug. So like for me that's like a good 1.5 centimeters covering along the bottom of the NutriBullet, but like whatever you want, 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. Yeah, if you weren't raised on coffee like I was as a child. And sugar if you have sugar, or agave if you're insufferable. I'm sometimes insufferable. I'm insufferable during the week. And then you just blend it for about 10 seconds. So this doesn't have any milk in. No milk. Just black coffee. Makes me so happy. Anyway. I'm wearing my Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Bleeding t-shirt, which feels like an appropriate one for starting a book about female boxing. So I'm going to drink my little drink, and I'm going to read some of Headshot. Catch you in a bit. Read 2 chapters of Headshot, which I'm enjoying so far. So it takes place at a girls under 18s boxing championship, the Daughters of America boxing championship, which is like the elite one for young female boxers. And every chapter is a different bout. And so the first one is the first 2 girls in a boxing match. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think I like the writing. I think it potentially as a structure could get a little tedious, but it's not a very long book. It's only about 200 pages, so we'll see. But I probably won't talk too much more about that one in this video because, as I said, I'm reading it for my impatient reading vlog. And then I have literally just started reading Enlightenment by Sarah Perry. I've read 10 pages, and it could be because I was hungry, but I'm really enjoying the vibes of it. But for some reason, like the actual like what is being communicated in the prose is not going into my head, and I've had to already within 10 pages go back and reread bits. But like I said, that could just be because I'm hungry. So what we're doing now, partner is in from football, and we are going to our local street food market in our park to have the best falafel in Newcastle from Zenobia. So that's what's happening now. Okay, so I'm aware that the falafel wrap doesn't look very impressive, but it's so good. Did I say before what company it is? It's Zenobia. If you're in Newcastle, do yourself a favour and go to Zenobia. Anyway, just me lying down in bed, reading my book. Shall we play a fun game of how many pages I read before I fall asleep? I'm on page 30 of Enlightenment. I'll let you know. I'll let you know later. The answer was 6 pages. Okay, but look what happens when you add cocoa powder. So it's like, I mean, I guess you could add like hot chocolate powder if you want, but this is like
You can probably tell because it's super dark. This is like cocoa powder, like raw cocoa powder, like that you would use in baking. Only because most of the others have milk powder and I don't drink milk. But it's made it like super intense. Like, I think I slightly regret it for my first drink of the day, but I do not regret the creative impulse. I'm gonna carry on reading Headshot. Actually, while I've got you here, I finished Neon Roses last night. I'm not gonna, talk too much about it because there'll be a full review coming in the Impatient Reading blog. I liked it. It was, I liked the characters. It felt, I can't remember if it was a debut, but it felt a bit like a debut. It felt a little episodic, and like there's various relationships, and like the endings of each of those relationships felt quite neat. Like it's like, that was that section of the story, now we're on to the next section of the story, now the next bit. And I found just like the overall structure of the story, I found a little bit dissatisfying. But I don't know if it's because in my head, or possibly someone told me this, but I've definitely been talking about it like it's like the film Pride, but from the perspective of the Welsh community, the mining community. And it is, but like the entire plot of Pride happens within like the first maybe quarter, but definitely third of the book, and then the rest is after it. So I actually wanted it, I think that's partly why I was perceiving that there were problems with the way the plot was unfolding, was because I just had different expectations of the plot, which is so unfair of me, but you know, sometimes reading's like that. So I finished Neon Roses. And then I've also, while I've got you here, started Enlightenment. I've read about a quarter of Enlightenment, which I'll catch up with you about later. But I'm enjoying it so far. Had a little bit of a rocky start, but I am enjoying it. From what I can see online, this seems to be one of the more Marmitey books. At the moment, I'm not getting vibes that I'm gonna love it, but I think I'm gonna like it. But it's early days, so I'll catch up with you about that later. Now I'm going to enjoy my glass of tiramisu. Welcome to my bedroom floor. There's my thumb. This is my most neglected bookcase. It is short story collections, which, I mean, why do I even own? But I do. And poetry and plays. And there are too many things. So I need to give it a quick spruce. I'm not going to do a full organiser of it because I don't want it to be a whole big thing. But I am going to do a quick reorder. I think I had to do this with my bookcase downstairs for my novels this week. Just accept that books now have to go horizontally to maximise on space. So that's what we're going to do. I won't do like a time lapse because it's such a small amount of space you won't be able to see, and I can barely fit down here, so I'll show you it when it's done. But here's the mess. Wish me luck. Okay, we have progress. So top shelf here we have short stories. Sorry, I'm getting comfy, right. Top shelf, short stories, mostly kind of like fairy tale-y stuff. A lot of that's from uni. Short stories. This is coming into poetry at the end there. Then we've got poetry, and then we get into the plays. So, plays. Down here, mostly plays again. I don't know why this shelf is so big. I must have had a reason at some point. But, yeah, so basically all of this is plays except for a few graphic novels, Heartstopper High, and a couple of screenplays. Like we've got the shooting script for Inception and Inglourious Bastards and Magnolia, a couple of little extra bits. That's like a writing book but about theatre, which is why it's with the place. And yeah, so it's not perfect, but it's way better than it was.
Morning. It's Monday, which means here ends our week. So I probably should have finished this yesterday, but I didn't. So I'm finishing it now. What do I have to update you on before we finish? Non-book related. Watched Rome on Holiday for the first time last night with my partner. Absolutely loved it, and I did not see that ending coming. So if you're looking for a good romantic comedy, like, it's genuinely, it really holds up and actually does a much better job with the ending than almost every contemporary romantic comedy that I can think of. So give that a watch if you haven't. Books wise, we'll sneak this in, will we? Technically I didn't finish it yesterday, I finished it on the dog walk this morning, but I just finished True Grit and absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I thought I would, because I know Ariel on the Books Unbound podcast absolutely raved about it, and we have a decent amount of overlap in our reading taste, I think, and this felt like one that I would really like, because I really enjoy the vibe of a Western, but I don't always know like where to go, because I don't think I would want like a straight up Western. But like I really enjoyed, although not an American Western, but like I really enjoyed the true history of the Kelly gang, which is obviously set in the Australian outback, but very similar sort of vibes to a Western. And yeah, this is great. It follows a 14-year-old girl called Maddie Ross, whose dad is killed by a cattle thief just before the start of the book, and the book is this young girl's sort of bringing to justice of this guy, going after him, and there's a really great rich cast of characters, and yeah, I really loved the voice. It's narrated by Donna Tartt as well, and I haven't quite finished listening to, she's got an essay at the end of it about it, but I've listened to enough of that essay to know that she says it's an unusual book because like not only does she love it, and she's loved it since she first read it when she was about 10, but everyone in her family loves it, and they all have really different reading tastes, and she can't think of another book that they would all agree on. And I sort of feel a bit similar about it. Like I feel like it's got a lot to recommend it in a lot of different directions, because it is a coming of age story, but there's loads of action. It's also just really captures that moment in time. So from a historical perspective, it's great, and I particularly recommend the audiobook. I thought it was fantastic. So we've got True Grit's done and dusted. I'm halfway through Enlightenment by Sarah Perry, which I'm going on journeys with. I'm enjoying the reading experience of it. I have no idea where it's going in a way that I can't work out. I feel a little bit similarly to it, to how I did about The Extinction of Irina Ray by Jennifer Croft, in that I think Sarah Perry has a plan for how this all fits together, and I trust that she has a plan, but because nothing is anticipatable by the reader, you don't get that when you've got a book that's like an unfolding mystery. It's nice as a reader to sometimes get a little bit, to be able to anticipate some of the stuff, and I just feel like I can't really anticipate a lot of it. And I haven't told you what this book is about, have I? Okay. It is set at the start it said that in the late 90s, and we are following a man called Thomas, who is a columnist for a local newspaper, the Essex Chronicle. And at the start of the book, his editor says, hey, I think we need to mix it up. There's this comet coming. How about for a bit, for a few of your columns, you just get really into astronomy? That would be really helpful. Move with the times. Thomas as a character, we get the impression early on is a little bit stuck in his ways. Possibly a man who has not changed much over his life. And this comet ends up, his interest in the moon and astronomy ends up crossing over with a haunted house mystery in a townhouse in the town, where it's said to have been haunted, and some documents come to light around the same time of who that woman might actually be, so this alleged ghost, but they can't work out what happened to her, but there's an astronomy link we discover over time. So we're kind of following that, but it's also you're following the people as much as you're following the mystery. You know how sometimes books will weight it more towards we're following the mystery or more towards we're following the people. I feel like this is trying to balance both of them, and maybe that's the thing that's making the pace feel a little off, because it's spending a lot of time trying to do both. But I'm struggling to articulate what it's about, and I think it's because I don't have a real idea of what the core of the story is yet. Which I don't know if that's a good thing 200 pages in. But I'm also, I sat and like read it for 2 hours yesterday and was like really, really enjoying the actual reading experience of it. So yeah, in my head it's very like The Extinction of Irina Ray in the sense of like, I don't know if I'm getting everything that I'm supposed to get from it, but I'm enjoying the reading experience of it. So we'll see. At the moment, I think I probably am enjoying it more than Headshot though, which means my current Booker ranking, having finished neither Enlightenment nor Headshot, when I finish those I'll have read 3 on the Booker long list. But for me at the minute it would be James, Enlightenment, Headshot. But it's all quite close. James for me so far is head and shoulders above the other 2 books that I've read. But yeah, I can't remember if I have anything else that I need to update you on, but that feels like enough for now. So I'm gonna love you and leave you. I hope you've enjoyed coming along for my week of reading. I would love to know what you've been reading this week, or if you've read any of these. Are you reading any of the Booker books? What do you think of them so far? What have you read? If you've enjoyed this video and you want to give it a little thumbs up, that would be very kind and really help support the channel and the stuff that I bang on about over here on this little corner of the internet. And yeah, I'll see you soon for something else. Bye.